Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new Invincible spoiler review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. Today, we are talking about season 3, episode 6. All I can say is I'm sorry for the Amazon Prime Video show Invincible. So, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do TV show reviews, movie rankings, out of theater reactions, and every Monday, a box office breakdown show. So if you like any one of those things, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe and ring the bell. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on this episode of Invincible? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Any bold predictions for the final 2 episodes? Also, let me know in the comments. I respond to every single comment. Definitely find me in the comments. And also, please hit that thumbs up button down below. So I thought Invincible season 3 got off to a really flawless start with its first 3 episodes. I didn't think the last 2 episodes were great. I thought they were very solid, like 7 out of 10 episodes. And I think we found ourselves back and forth. We're around like an 8.5 out of 10 episode with episode 6, because episode 6 was one of the more personal episodes of Invincible. So it's basically Powerplex versus an Invincible episode. We get the new character of Powerplex, who in this episode is voiced by Aaron Paul, excuse me, who did a very good job voicing Powerplex in this episode. And yes, it is episode 6. Just trying to make sure. And basically learn that he was actually his sister and his niece, who are the 2 people that Mark was trying to save in the very last episode of season 1 when he was fighting Omni-Man in Chicago, where he was grabbing someone's arm in the building. That was his sister. And when when they fell down to the ground, he's holding the arm. It's just the arm, no more body. That was Scott Duvall's sister. And we learned that now Scott Duvall, who's now Powerplex, his goal is now to go after Invincible and make him pay. He's working for the Pentagon underneath Cecil, underneath all these people at the department there. And he takes these particles that make him like kind of like electro, kind of electro-like here in the show. And his goal is to kill Invincible. He doesn't want to hurt anyone else. His wife like eggs him on the whole episode. Every time he's like, I'm going to stop. I should probably stop and not try to hurt anyone. And the wife obviously kept pushing. Like, we can think of another plan. We can think of another plan. They did try to go through lawyers, people who run the city, and they said, laws. And I thought it was a really powerful moment, which is that laws work differently for people like that. And that kind of broke Scott into wanting to go on this kind of rampage in this episode. Now, he tried to make a scene of himself. And that's when Mark was actually hanging out bowling with his friends, with Andrew Rannells' character of William and his friends, and then Amber shows up. Really cool moment with Amber's boyfriend and Mark, which I thought was very funny. We also had a really great dinner scene between the new family now, which is obviously Debbie, Oliver, Mark, Eve, and then obviously Debbie's new boyfriend, Paul, who's voiced by Cliff Curtis. And I thought it was a really powerful scene where, Paul is laughed at because he's trying to compare his real estate work to superhero stuff. And Paul says, I don't want to, I'm not leaving you or anything, but I just don't know where I fit in. I thought it was a really honest question to Debbie. And, Debbie's like, you don't have to fit in. You're not trying to be their father. Basically the whole season is also about that every life matters. And obviously, it said in this episode that over 2,300 people died in Chicago as a result of the Omni-Man Invincible fight in season 1. But every life does matter. And she's basically like, Mark, Eve, Oliver, they don't see us as beneath them, as like that. They see them as equals, as human beings. And I thought that was a really nice moment for Debbie and Paul. Paul did not like being flown by a car by Mark and everyone. It was cool to see Mark and Eve help train Oliver, with Eve seemingly giving better advice that Oliver listens to, which I thought was really funny. We get stuff with the Guardians of the Globe, where Shapesmith tries to stop Scott the first time. Didn't really work out well. The rest of the Globes get him arrested, but then, obviously Scott breaks out. We get stuff with a really great moment in this episode where Rudy helps Amanda, Shrinking Ray, basically to every time she would go in and out of shrinking or not. Sorry, that's actually sorry. Yes, oh, sorry, that's Amanda, not Shrinking Ray. I'm trying to think of the character's name. Who's the one who shrinks and goes becomes a monster. Rudy was trying to make sure that created this belt that would allow her to stop. She basically every time she would grow into the monster, then go back to her human self, she would DH. And this belt basically stopped it. And she cried in front of Rudy. Rudy never has that human to human connection because obviously Rudy is not really human. Um, and she's like, I didn't really want to change you. Just want to make sure you're cool with it. I can throw this away. And she was just really happy that she can finally start living her life. She can age naturally. She said she was like 20 something years old, but then now she's like a 12-year-old or 10-year-old, whatever it is. And that's why Rudy gave himself the child version of Rex, is because to make sure she felt comfortable. So I thought that was really good. Amanda Ray with Rexplode. Ray is quitting the group. And wants Rex to come with. It does not seem like Rex will do that. But we shall see. When we get to the big part of the episode, which is this memorial for all the victims of the fight, and Powerplex shows up. Once Invincible. There was a really cool moment also earlier in the episode. We kept mentioning Invincible. They kept trying to cut to the title card. Thought it was really well done how they were doing that. But after Mark wanted to step in, Debbie said, let Eve handle it. Eve was like struggling. I was like, oh, I'm getting pretty nervous here. And the rest of the globes come in and Eve says, you guys handle this. So Mark then starts to realize that, Cecil and everyone tried to hold me off from all these real emotions and not trying to understand the consequences of her actions. I've said this before, I think even last week here in Invincible. So many other properties, Marvel and DC, try to get to the part where these massive battles have consequences. In Marvel, it was the whole root of Captain America Civil War, which is why it's one of my favorite MCU films. Really, after Civil War, it wasn't really touched upon the impact of Avengers level battles like that. And then for DC, they were trying to do that for Batman versus Superman, but Invincible does this a lot stronger than BVS did. And the reason why this works is because they really personalize it. Someone who did lose people saw Mark, and even though Mark's a hero, doesn't believe Mark should be around unsolved with a different law set than the rest of humanity. Because if he has a different law set, he's above everyone. That's what Scott sees. So then Scott breaks out of the prison. He sets up a trap, which is he acts like there's innocence and danger in the same building, but it's actually his wife's idea. His wife and his like baby are taped to this wall. It's like really horrific. And Scott has this huge fight where he's trying to electrify Mark, but he zaps his wife and child. And they show the bones of his baby and his wife. Like it got so real so quickly. It was mind blowing that Invincible continues to go there, but it was like really horrific to see like a baby's bones. I'm sure that will offend some people. It didn't offend me, but it was just really heartbreaking. Donald went behind Cecil's back to help Mark. At least we think Donald went behind Cecil's back to help Mark learn his power, so he knows that he can't really hit him because that's what gives him his power. They send him to the GDA prison, and he warns Mark that he will break out and find him. Because Mark's like, actually, I apologize, and now see all the people and remember all the victims. And he's like, you remembering and you feeling bad for everyone does not give me comfort. What I did think was actually a pretty fair statement. But we end the episode with Mark talking with Eve, and Mark thinking that he's the bad guy, but obviously he's not. We cut to the post-credit scene and his Angstrom Levy, and what he has done, because he's obviously spying on Mark, that he has gotten all these different Invincibles from all these different universes, and that is his plan to stop Mark. And I am insanely ready for these final two episodes. I thought this was a really great back to form episode for Invincible. It was very personal. It was emotional for multiple different storylines. You felt the weight and the stakes of the episode, which we really haven't felt since episode 3. Again, it felt extremely relatable and human. dealing with a lot of superheroes and people not of our species. It was a very human episode where lives were on the line and people had to remember lives. I thought it was extremely well done. So I loved this episode of Invincible. I am pumped for the final 2 episodes of the series. Are you pumped as well? Let me know in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon.